Today, I'm going to show you a watch that is so close to being the absolute best watch under $300 that I've ever seen. It features Seiko's new affordable automatic GMT movement, so you're getting that GMT functionality. The finishing is outstanding. Everything about this is great. There's just one problem with it, and it almost seems like a mistake on San Martin's part, and it's a mistake that's very confusing because it's a very easy one to avoid, and yet somehow I'm even impressed with what they did with that mistake. We're going to work through all of that in just a second, but take a quick look at the watch and then we'll get into it. Hey guys, welcome back to Just the Watch. My name's Dave. I live in Japan and I love to collect affordable watches. And today we're going to be looking at a really great affordable watch option. This one coming from China, from San Martin, which is one of the best affordable watch manufacturers out there right now. They're a fairly new brand. They hit the scene a few years back, and since then they've really been making a name for themselves of putting together kind of very high quality watches for very affordable prices. This is a watch that is currently on sale on AliExpress right now. AliExpress is running their summer sale, and so you can pick this one up for, I think at the sale price, around $260 for an automatic GMT watch with just a ton of amazing features put into it. Now, San Martin did provide this watch for free, which is why you saw the paid promotions flag at the beginning of this video. However, other than the watch itself, San Martin did not provide any compensation for this review, nor did they have any input into the content of this review. Now, I absolutely love almost everything about this watch. It does have one kind of head-scratching thing to it, which we're going to unpack as we go through this review. I'm curious if you think this is an absolute deal breaker. Let's go ahead and take a closer look and see if we can figure it out. This is so close to being the perfect affordable automatic GMT. During the current summer sale on AliExpress, you can pick this up for $261, which is just insane for the level of quality, finishing, and specifications that you're getting in this watch. And while the design isn't anything revolutionary, it's definitely not a direct copy or homage of any particular watch that I'm aware of, and it looks really good. But before we talk about the design and what I think is the one big miss on this watch, let's go through these specifications and the quality that you're getting here first. This watch features Seiko's new automatic NH34 GMT movement, which, as I understand it, is essentially an NH36, but instead of a day complication, you're getting a GMT complication. This is a collar GMT, so the GMT hand will jump in 1 hour increments, making it fairly easy to set. You also get a date complication, 40 hours of power reserve, and a 21,600 beats per hour beat rate, or 6 ticks per second. The NH35 and 36 have an excellent track record, so it's expected that this NH34, while being a relatively new movement, is going to maintain that same robustness and longevity that Seiko is known for. And it's so cool to see the GMT complication now being made affordable because of this great movement that Seiko put out. And San Martin has complemented that movement with very high quality materials, including a wonderful domed sapphire crystal and a choice of either a full stainless steel bezel or a combination stainless steel and ceramic, which is what I have in here for review. And this watch gives you 200 meters of water resistance, a screw-down crown, and excellent lume featuring BGW9, which has a cool blue glow in the dark. But wait, there's more. The bracelet on this watch is outstanding at any price. It features screw links, a beautiful taper to it, and a high-quality, wonderfully engineered clasp that features push-button on-the-fly adjustment. This means that you can resize the bracelet on the fly without any tools while you're out and about if you need to loosen it up a little bit, if your wrist is swelled, or if you need to tighten it down for more active activities. And to get all of that at this price point is pretty crazy, and I still haven't even talked about the beautiful enamel dial or the outstanding finishing across every aspect of this watch. But before I continue gushing, let's go ahead and get to the main problem that this watch has, which just might be a deal breaker for a lot of people. And that is the bezel action. This watch features a bidirectional 24-click bezel, which is the ideal choice for a GMT bezel. Most affordable GMT watches will cheap out and just use the standard 120-click unidirectional bezel because that's the most common one. It's the easiest one to source parts for. But a bezel that only rotates one way makes it difficult to set the GMT time. Another common workaround is just to use a friction bezel. That's one that doesn't have any clicks at all, that just kind of turns smoothly, because that's also fairly cheap to manufacture. And I see this often on watches even costing $1,000 or more. But in the budget price range to get a bidirectional 24-click bezel on a GMT watch, that's pretty rare. And the action on this one feels great. It's very satisfying to feel each of those large clicks lock right into place and align perfectly with the 24-hour markers. And in some ways, I'm really happy to see this bezel because this is something that I want on a GMT watch. But as I've been saying all this, have you noticed the problem? The problem is that the rotating aspect of the bezel doesn't have a GMT scale on it. It has a timing bezel on it. And a timing bezel that only has 24 spots on the dial where it can stop really isn't that useful. A timing bezel should have at least 60 clicks, if not 120, which is, again, the most common layout you're going to get. And you might not notice that at first because this watch features a very unique, very cool looking two-part bezel system. The inner stainless steel part of the bezel is actually fixed to the watch. It has the 24-hour markers and it does not move. That's what you're going to set the GMT hand to. You'll get that red hand and pointed at that 24-hour scale on the stainless steel portion. When you rotate the bezel, it's only that black ceramic outer portion that's going to rotate, and on that they've got a timing scale. And if you're familiar with dive time bezels, the way they're supposed to work is you take that triangle on the bezel and you line it up with the minute hand. And once you do that, you can look at the minute hand to reference how many minutes have elapsed since you set the bezel. But because of the 24-click bidirectional bezel action that they have on this, that timing bezel doesn't line up properly with the minute hand. It lines up exactly with each of the 24-hour markers on the inner bezel for no apparent reason whatsoever. And this two-part bezel action is one of the coolest parts of this watch. It's a very unique, very original aspect of it. It's one of the defining visual characteristics of it. And done right, it would have added a lot of functionality. You would have had the ability to track a second time zone and to time things, which would have made it just one of the most useful functional watches that I've seen. But due to the bezel action that they chose to use, the timing action is very imprecise, given that it only locks in at like 2.5-minute increments around the dial. If this watch would have just featured a standard 24-hour GMT bezel with that action, it would have been a complete home run. Everything would have been flawless and it would have worked great. Or if they would have used the appropriate 120-click unidirectional bezel action with this bezel system, again, complete home run, everything would have been amazing. So I'm not sure how they messed that up. For me, it would kind of drive me crazy, but again, everything else about this watch is so incredible, I might even be willing to overlook that. So with that out of the way, let's get to one of my favorite parts about this watch, and that is the dial. This watch features an absolutely beautiful black enamel dial. It's a deep, inky, wet black that has a glossy, reflective quality to it. It reminds me a lot of my Seiko Urushi dial, and I think it's just such a beautiful dial finish. And speaking of finishing, the brushing and the polishing on this watch is outstanding. Everything is done to an incredibly high standard, just as good as the finishing I've seen on watches costing upwards of $1,000. Finally, I'm a big fan of the size of this watch. Even though 38 millimeters seems a little bit small, I think it wears really well on my 7.5-inch wrist. I think smaller dive style watches like this on a metal bracelet really have a classic look to them. And this being more of a travel watch, I like the smaller size. It's going to be a little bit more unobtrusive and comfortable and easy to wear. All in all, really cool, really beautiful watch from San Martin. I just hope they figure out that bezel in a future version of it. Okay, I think that about wraps it up for this review. Curious to hear what your guys' take is on this. How big a deal is that bezel issue in comparison to the rest of the very positive things about this watch? If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, definitely invite you to do so. I like to make videos focusing on affordable watches and affordable watch collecting. So if that's something that you're into, I think you'll like what you see here. And if you're interested in getting a watch themed t-shirt like this one, I am selling them on my website at justthewatch.com. I've got a lot of other cool designs I put together, so do me a favor and check it out. And finally, please make sure you drop me a comment down below. I would love to get some feedback from you guys on what you think about this watch, and again, particularly that bezel issue that I noted. That will wrap it up for today. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.